You're listening to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, episode number 75. Welcome to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, a show anchored in reality to help you create a balanced life where you enjoy both your work and your life, because you don't have to choose. I am your host, Cecile Ferry, a corporate executive turned coach and working mom. This is your place for insights, advice, and tools to optimize your career direction, balance, and confidence. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for being here. I hope you haven't missed me too much. I have missed you, but I always do what I can, and life has been going really well in the last 2 months. I wish I could have done a podcast sooner, but I just didn't have the space or the energy, or I had other focus in my life. So the topic today is like big as. I don't know why I did that to myself. Why can't I just pick a small question or a small topic and talk to you for 15 minutes about it? No. I always seem to go for the big conversations and more these days. But you know what? That's just how I roll. And actually, this topic is so big that when I was preparing it, I realized I have to split it into episodes, because otherwise you're going to be hearing me for a long time. And I don't actually have time to finish it today. So I'm going to do part 1 today and part 2 as soon as I can. So the topic today is feeling enough. And as I said, it's like the topic, isn't it? And I think this is a topic that relates to everybody. And when I say everybody, I mean from every continent and whatever level of success that you are at, which I think is fascinating. So you can see even like personalities like Oprah or famous actors or singers, politicians, Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama. Especially I'm talking about women here because we tend to be even more prone to that. But men do as well. So there are plenty of very successful people. And I would say most of them still don't feel enough. And if you're thinking, yes, that's me too, and that's why you press play today, welcome, because you are in excellent company. It's pretty much all of humanity. We were born feeling enough. We really were. Like no baby, if you could get into the mind of a baby when they're born, they're not thinking that they're not enough. They're thinking they're perfectly fine, and they are. So what happens? Well, couple of years later, as we grow up, as we interact with the world, as we hear our parents, like we start having a different voice coming over us. And it's a voice actually not over us, within us. We feel it's within us. And that is starting to tell us that we are not enough, and how we're not enough, and why we're not enough. And that voice grows with us. And that's why we have it with us in our 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s and so on. And what happens is when we are young, that voice starts appearing through some criticism that we hear, or when we fail at things, or where we experience some pretty traumatic or damaging events, or simply when we see other people doing better, and definitely social media plays a big role there. So there is a lot of that negative self-talk that is quite insidious, that's just starting to seep in from a young age, and it stays there. Since we were born enough, what we need to do is find a way to get back to that. The way that I see this is that our lives are set up in a way that forces us to feel that way and to work through this. So I personally think we arrive here, and then our life takes a path that brings us some joys, some happiness, but also it brings us some challenges and lessons. And these are all very different for each and every one of us. We all experience setbacks, disappointments, losses, issues, situations, right, that affect us. And I believe the whole point of our lives is to go through those and to come out the other end feeling enough, and remembering how we were when we were little babies, right? So I think it's normal that we do not feel enough when life knocks us down. But what we are called to do, and that's why I'm doing this podcast, is to find ways to rise above that and to remember and to reconnect with our sense of self-worth. I believe that we were designed to find ourselves again as we go through those challenges. And we were designed to integrate all the parts of us and to be okay with life being sometimes great, sometimes good, sometimes difficult. So today I'm going to attempt to give you, in this first part, some guidance on how to feel enough. I want you to regain that sense of inner peace, of inner worth and inner confidence that you deserve to have, that every single one of you deserves to have. I can hear you say, Cecile, that sounds great. Give it to me now. And I hope it's available in a pill and I take it. Not exactly. But what I'm going to give you is what I've called a scaffolding for feeling enough. That's what came to my mind. I see it like a structure that has core pillars and some nuts and bolts. And that structure together will help you raise your sense of self-worth. And because it's a scaffolding, once it's in place, it stays there. Like it's something that will have a lasting impact in your life. So today I'm going to go through 8 pillars that make up that scaffolding. Of course, you don't need to have them all under control now in every single one of them. Take this as a work in progress and see what resonates with you. If you do those 8 things, if you can build those different pillars in your life, every single one of them will contribute to raising your sense of feeling enough. And those pillars are very much things that you can do. So they're really anchored into some actions. In part 2, I'll be covering the mindset part. So that I see more like the fuel that goes around those nuts and bolts and the structure. It's kind of the energy, the right sort of wavelength that needs to be around those core things. But today we're talking about things that you can do that will translate directly into you feeling enough. So you may want to take some notes. I hope you're ready for this very exciting conversation. Let's get into it. Okay, scaffolding number 1. Feeling loved, seen, and appreciated through relationships. So others can really help you feel enough. And by others, I mean the right people in the right relationships. Because those people will mirror back at you what they see in you. Because they love you for who you are. And this is the best thing to remember when you have self-doubt. This is the best thing to fall back on when you start feeling those cracks into you, when you start doubting yourself when things happen to you, is to go back to this core foundation of your relationships and what people see in you, what they think of you, and how much they love you. So here I am talking family relationships, friendships, love relationships, or any special one-on-one relationship that you have in your life. Relationships with a coach, with a teacher, with a mentor, with a therapist, or with an assistant, or with team members. Like all of those people who actually see you. They are actually much better at seeing your true worth than you tend to be yourself, because they don't have the ego that you have about yourself. They have their own egos, so they need you to do that for themselves. But likewise, they act that way for you because they can see past your ego. They can show you your ego is wrong. So when your ego is telling you you are not enough, you need to hear another voice. And that voice comes from your loved ones. So spend some time in your life to really nurture and grow all those relationships. And it's not quantity, it's about the right kind. What you want is that unconditional love, the people who will take you as you are. And how do you know? Because when you are with these people, you feel enough, always. So really seek them, really prioritize them, and think about who they are in your life right now. Who are those people? Are you spending enough time with them? Do you have enough of those people? Do you need to seek new people that will bring that in you? Really, really important questions to ask yourself. And therefore, avoid people who bring you the contrary. Avoid people that make you feel not good enough. And there are a lot of people who do that. And quite often, they don't mean it. It's not consciously. But there are people that really make you feel inadequate, or, through criticism or through comparison, make you feel like you should be higher or better than what you are. And you could go all the way to people who are toxic, and actually those people get into your own inner wounds, get in there and actually deeply affect you. So this is like the harshest for your self-worth, right? And if you're there, there's a lot of resources and books that you can look into to get yourself back up. But for everybody else, really look at those people that you have in your life. Do you have enough of them? And do you feel the love? Because I guarantee you, they see you that way and they're there for you. And maybe you not even realizing what they think of you and how much they love you. But look at their actions. Look at how they're valuable to you. Look at the gifts that they give you, whether it's their time or it's something that they give you. Like, those are all signs of unconditional love. So that's scaffolding number 1. And I started with that because if you do anything, just have that in your life and you will feel really good. Scaffolding number 2, building results through your actions and banking the credit, remembering your accomplishments. So here I'm going to talk about do, action. So in order to feel enough, you need to set intentions, you need to set initiatives, and you need to go after them. You need to take action because your own doing will translate into self-worth. And when I say your own doing, it's the right amount of doing in the right direction. But I'll get to that later. You need to be doing stuff because the lack of action, the procrastination, the waiting to be ready or to know everything before you can get started, all those things breed low self-worth. Because as you are staying in that phase of waiting or not doing it, not taking the action, nothing happens. And you see that nothing happens, and that's all that you see, and you keep judging yourself about it, and that impacts how you feel about yourself. So get to work in your life, get in the driver's seat now, and make things happen your way. Get some support if you need, but drive the bus. I think this one is very important to hammer a little bit because a lot of us need to focus on that these days. Because I think after years and years of pandemic, where we all got very disempowered, a lot of us have maybe forgotten our own will, have forgotten our own drive, and have kind of gone more with the flow, and we don't feel great from that place. So I'm really emphasizing this pillar here because you need to take some action, and then you need to celebrate the results that you have, even the small ones. Because enough is found in the small, regular victories, not in the big life-changing moments that happen once in a while. And I think that's what we're chasing, and we think we're going to feel enough then. And that is a very distant and sometimes not achievable thing. Meanwhile, actually, what makes us feel enough is achieving more regularly. And it doesn't have to be that high level of achievement. You know, that kind of all or nothing. And that has been my own experience. So aim for those smaller victories, those smaller milestones that will get you on the way of a bigger milestone. But that is where the action needs to be targeted to. So back yourself up, Be your own coach and go, my friend. If you want to raise your self-worth, if you want to feel enough, you're going to have to build reasons to feel enough. You have to do the work. You have to do it. And then you yield the benefits for yourself. All right, scaffolding number 3. Curating your external influences. By that I mean 2 things. A, removing the traps. B, only allowing the boosters. 2 different things, but they complement each other. So removing the traps. These are those external influences, sources, voices, and some of them you didn't ask for, but you got to be aware of them and you've got control whether you allow them in or not. So those voices that lower your sense of self-worth. So typical culprits here, we have social media at number 1, yet we all spend hours scrolling on our phones. So if you do want to be on social media, curate your feeds like with so much passion. That is a topic I'm really passionate about. Like, I spend some time on social media, but it's so highly curated that it only is a booster for my self-esteem and for my sense of self-worth. I really feel enough. And when I don't, it's out of the door. And sometimes things change over time. So you might be following something that makes you feel great and then one day it doesn't. I remember even I just stopped halfway through a podcast last week. I loved the beginning of it, and then it got to a place that didn't make me feel good, and I just stopped it, right? So be really aware. And also remove people who really judge you, who are going to be those voices you don't need. And sometimes it's hard because they're right there next to you or within your family circle. But you got to be really focused on that. As I said, this is a scaffolding. You own it. You build that, you will feel enough. And then only allow the boosters, so the thought leaders, the people, the voices that empower you, that make you feel good. Because in order to feel enough, you need to feel good. So aim for good. So my friend, as you're listening to this, maybe it's time to do a cleanse, especially a digital one. I would actually even go all the way to saying you should do a decluttering of your physical environment. Because when you have piles of stuff looking at you in the eye every day, how can you feel enough? It's like you have that constant reminder right there to do something, telling you, well, you should get rid of me. So you set yourself up for those nagging thoughts, right? How can you feel enough when you feel your house is in a mess, things are not in order, things are not looking like you want them to? You're going to set yourself up for feeling enough when you remove all those opportunities for you to feel bad about yourself, pretty much. So only allow what makes you feel good. So that's a very simple test question to ask yourself about things, whether it's digital or it's in your life. Does it make me feel good? And I know I sound like Marie Kondo, but she's onto it with, does it spark joy? Same deal with those things in your life or on your screen. And really, we don't realize how much stuff, how much content or influence we passively allow and the impact that it has on us. So curate, my friend. This will have a direct correlation on how you feel about yourself. And you will feel good enough when you do that. And do this regularly, at least once every 6 months, because new things just creep in. Right? There's so many opportunities and choice in our world. So new things will come in, but reassess every 6 months. Do I need this? Does this make me feel good? If not, it's out. Scaffolding number 4 is a very easy one. Stick to a few goals, and a few goals that are achievable. To give you an example, I know, for instance, online there's a lot of content on how to become a millionaire and have a millionaire mindset. That is great. I'm not saying don't do it, it's not for you. But if, as you are looking at that, as you are setting yourself up that kind of goal, like, know how you're going to feel. How does that make you feel? Do you feel enough? Chances are it's going to make you feel really bad because that goal is not really achievable for you from where you are right now. And no one really tells you that. So if you aim too high, you will never feel enough. It sounds like common sense, but I've got to say it because we don't live in a world that says aim lower, if you've noticed. So I'm saying to you, start smaller and focus on one goal at a time. And this really supports scaffolding number 2, where I talked about the action. Because if you have too many goals, this really equals to self-sabotage. Because if you have got too many goals, you either can't manage them all, or if you have too many goals, you can potentially let yourself off the hook. You don't really have to choose and make progress on one because you're still working on another and another and another. This can be a form of self-sabotage. So I'm really advocating 1 or 2 goals because then you build up the action on those and you get the results. And the problem is people will say, but I have this and have this and have that, and you don't feel enough. That is not a surprise. So lower the bar, lower the standards and start smaller. Scaffolding number 5, make choices that honor yourself and yourself first. So that is a big one, and that's not easy to change overnight. But by that I mean you need to be standing in your integrity and saying no if that's not for you. This is something I've been talking about quite a lot on the podcast, but it is a core pillar of that scaffolding. You will not feel enough if you don't do that. Why? Nothing will make you feel less than when you do things that you don't really want to do or that don't align with who you are at your core. Like, really let that sink in for a minute. When you do those things that don't align with you, that you don't really want to do deep down, when you do that, it directly impacts your self-worth. If you want to feel enough, you need to listen to yourself and you need to give yourself that full stop. Because you need to serve yourself first. If you don't give to yourself first, you can't feel enough. Because you are emptying yourself out with every single concession, every single effort, every single sacrifice that you make. You deplete yourself when you say yes and deep down you mean no. You are like withdrawing from your sufficiency fund. You have a sufficiency fund, but you can't just keep drawing and drawing on it and then expect that you're going to feel enough. That is something I think a lot of us are blind to because we give and we feel like we're going to be helping other people. But when it's at our own expense, we are actually lowering our sense of self-worth, and it's really hard to feel good from that place. So that's scaffolding number 5. It's got to be there. You need to honor yourself first and then help other people. Scaffolding number 6, value your inner self over external things. Big warning here. This is going straight against everything you're going to be seeing out there in the media, in advertising, on TV, and so on and so forth. Right? Anywhere where you shop, online, offline, anywhere where companies want you to buy more stuff. Right? They will say, you're feeling that way, eat that, buy that. Okay? But let me ask you, do you ever get to the point where you feel enough once you've bought that Chanel handbag? When you've bought that car? Like, you've done those things, you've purchased those things. Have you got there? Have you felt enough? Does it do that for you? Unfortunately, we all know those things can't give us that. That's not what we're being sold. But at the end of the day, we keep trying, right? We focus on those external things. But you can't buy your way to feel enough. Otherwise, all the rich people on this planet will be really happy and feel whole and enough. And is that the case? If you look at actors, celebrities, a lot of them are really unhappy. So it's not about buying stuff. Yes, still enjoy all those nice external things, but don't give them the role to fill your gaps, to boost your sense of self-worth to the point where you will feel enough. You know, when we think, when I have this, when I'm that, then I'll feel enough. That is a really good journaling prompt to start right now. When do you think you'll be enough? What do you need? What is the thing or the things or the events, like those external things that you believe once they will have happened, you'll be enough? That will put you right straight on the right path to where you're probably going wrong with your thinking. And you're probably believing that those things will give you that. Whilst what I'm saying here instead is you need to focus and value your inner strength, your inner qualities. So I'm talking about things like intelligence, generosity, kindness, creativity, zest, humor, appreciation for beauty, bravery, courage, your big heart, a sense of focus, perseverance, patience, and I could go on and on. Those are the things that give you your value, that make you unique, and that make you feel more than enough. So that is where your mind should focus on every single day, not on what you like externally, materially, not what you need to buy today. What's the thing that's missing that you need to go and get from somewhere, right? And that is so hard in the world that we live in, where we are so outwardly focused that we forget that the actual inner satisfaction and peace and confidence and worth comes from our own inner gifts and using them and feeling them. I think even just start there. And that was a journey that I did myself. Like, again, relationship can be great for that because those people mirror at you your strength and your qualities. They can see them. But it's another thing for you to feel them, to acknowledge them, to kind of bang them for yourself and go, yeah, I am kind. Yes, I am very intelligent. Yes, I have those qualities. And value them for yourself. That is where you need to start. And then you should ask yourself every day, how can you leverage those? How can you use them? How can you grow them? Because those things will make you feel enough. You don't need anything else, literally. Just food, shelter, those things, right? Couple of nice things. But you will feel enough when you water your own inner garden. If you don't know what your strengths are, if you want to find out more about this topic, go and listen to episode number 3 of this podcast. And I'm going to link also in the show note. And you can go and take a free strength test. I'll put those links again. Go and do that for yourself and focus on that. This is where your mind should be, as opposed to, I need this, I need this, I need that. No, it's the world needs those things that I have. And I need to bring them out to life. I need to embrace them. I need to remember them. And I need to have them front of mind in my work, in my life, and being more of that. That is the secret to feeling enough. All right, we've got 2 more pillars. So scaffolding number 7 is hitting the right spot with what you do and how much you take on. So if you don't have boundaries, or if you don't recognize your limits, you will take on too much and you will not achieve as much and basically not feel enough. It's virtually the same as with your goals, right? So if you're taking on too much, you're going to overstretch and that's going to feel like a gap to you. And here I'm basically saying, do less, because chances are you're probably not doing too little, especially if you're women listening to my podcast. Because when you do less and that you see that you are still perfectly okay, and in fact, you'll probably be better, that is when the magic happens. That is when you feel enough. And I feel so strongly about this because it is my own experience. You know me, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know how much a doer I am, how much of a high achiever I am. It's a great strength and drive that I have. But I also have learned to rein it in because of my energy levels, right? And that has been a really tough lesson for me to learn. But it's been a couple of months where I have pulled back, where I am doing less. And you know what? I feel so good. So I was doing too much. I was trying too much. And that's the thing, we try too hard. And that really empties our sense of enoughness. So I'm standing here and I feel so enough. I can say that to every single one of you listening. May not be a permanent state forever, but these days I really do. And you know what? I'm doing less. So trust me on that and try it for yourself, because it's not easy to take on less and to consciously decide to drop some things. But the payoff, when you realize you probably didn't need all of that to start with, and the impact on your sense of self-worth. We think we're going to feel worse because we're going to achieve less. For me, it was right the opposite. So I really feel enough because I don't need all those things. And actually, I feel so much better that I can enjoy the space that I'm in when I don't overstretch myself. The thing is, you need to remove that fake perception that doing more equals feeling more. It doesn't work that way. Like, prove me wrong, but all my life I've learned this the hard way. So do the right things, yes, definitely, because if you do the bad things, you will feel not so good about it. But that is it. Stop there. In other words, direct your energy to where it can directly translate into a feeling of sufficiency. Not everything you're doing is equal in terms of return on sufficiency in your life at the moment. Granted, there are some things we have to do, but there's plenty more that we choose to do. So take a bit of an audit. What's too much in terms of quantity, and what's also not converting into sufficiency, into enoughness? And those things, get rid of them. Number 8, and those don't have any specific order of importance. They're all equally important. It's helping others. So this is another really powerful magic trick. When you forget yourself, yeah, we're talking here about feeling enough, but when you actually forget yourself and you put your attention onto others and you do that genuinely, you will feel better about yourself. And this, my friend, beats eating a chocolate bar every day. It doesn't have to be volunteering for a week somewhere. It can just be sending a text to someone to ask them how they're doing, or remembering something they're going through, an event in their life, and sending them a note. Like I said before, when I said giving out when it doesn't sit well with you will empty you out, giving out from a place of care and empathy will come right back at you. It will be flooding you with positive feelings, and you will overfill your cup. Not only will you feel enough, you will feel plentiful. So try this on, because it's just an incredible multiplier of self-worth. It's really interesting, right? It's ironic. You have to forget yourself, put your own sense of self to the side in order to make space for the feelings of someone else and care about their reality and what they're going through, and do something for them and be really there and be listening and be present. And sometimes all you need is just your time and your presence. You don't always need to do things for them. But when you do that, it has that magical effect that it helps them. And in reverse, you benefit back to you, and your own sense of self-worth gets boosted. All right, so this was the last but not the least important scaffolding. And I have a little bonus one, kept it last, because this is what I will put in the optional category, because there may not be one for everybody, but I've got to mention it here. Another important pillar, if you're open to it, is a belief in love from an unconditional source outside of you. So here I'm talking about the spiritual presence, whatever you choose to believe in. You know, whether it's a particular religion you follow, a particular God, it's a presence, it's universe, source, whatever it is for you. But when you know that such a presence exists, when you believe in it, and when you believe that you are loved and supported by this higher presence, you feel enough. Because why would they love you otherwise? Would they love you if you were not enough? I don't think that holds, right? So it's like you are good enough for them. So why wouldn't you be good enough for you then? I've kept this last because, as I said, it may not be a belief or a feeling available to every single one of you, and that's okay. But it is a real helper in reconnecting with and remembering your self-worth. It's just another dimension available to you if you want to contemplate it, if you want to read about it, and just see what resonates with you, because this can really increase your sense of self-worth, of deservingness, and feeling like you're good enough, even if you're not perfect, even if you haven't done all the things here on earth that you're supposed to do. So I definitely wanted to mention that as well. So keep it in mind if it speaks to you, and you may have such a spiritual presence in your life already, and lean on it to really help you feel that you are perfectly fine, worthy, and enough as you are. Right, my friend, thank you for being with me today as we went through the 8 pillars or scaffolding to help you feel enough, to help you start building that structure in your life. So as I said at the beginning, you don't have to do all of that now. Just pick one pillar and start with that. Maybe there's some that you're already mastering quite well. Just build further on it, just one at a time. That is plenty enough. I don't want you to not feel enough by not taking on enough pillars, for instance, right? And if there's really something worth doing in your life, it's that kind of work. Because when you feel enough, you're much happier yourself, your mood improves, and you're not wasting your precious life away, your precious time and energy, especially mental energy, worrying about stuff that you can't either change or that really brings you down. And B, you can give so much more to the people around you. And I'll tell you, the game is to be happy now with what you've got and to realize that it's fine, it's enough, and you're totally okay. And I know this for every single one of you listening. I know you are enough. And I could tell you if I met you today. The thing is, we are the hardest people to convince. So in the next episode, I'm going to add to this, I'm going to layer the mindset attitudes to build, and especially the traps to avoid, the things that hinder us, that tear that scaffolding down, even if you try to build in your life. So when you will add the scaffolding and those mindset strategies together, you will have such a strong foundation to feel enough in your life. And I'm super excited to share that with you, and hopefully it resonates. And please let me know, send me a comment, send me a rating, rate the podcast, give me some feedback on how this episode resonated with you. And if it did, please share it with people in your circle, because everyone deserves and needs to feel enough. And if we knew how to access it today, it's like the biggest gift you can give to someone. So stay tuned for the next episode, and in the meantime, start implementing those things and see how they work for you. I hope you have a beautiful week. I care about every single one of you. Thank you for being here, and you've got this. Bye for now. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to find out more information, you can visit my website at careercatchup.com. There you will find blog articles, free resources, a self-study course for your career direction, and ways to work with me. It's at careercatchup.com. I hope to continue to connect with you and support you. Talk to you soon.